ready to unlock some secrets, like how money really works. Let's take a deep dive. We're looking at the book, How Money Works. It's by Tom Mathews, Steve Siebold, and Andy Horner.
It's a really practical guide, designed to give you, the listener, more financial wisdom and to help you avoid those common money traps out there.
It is. And we're going to unpack some pretty interesting ideas from the book, like how much financial illiteracy actually costs us, the incredible power of compound interest, even the secret to becoming what the authors call a million-dollar baby, right from birth.
It's like a crash course. We're going to debunk some myths and hopefully unveil some hidden truths and give you some real tools so you can finally take control of your money.
I like that. And the book starts off with a warning. It's about financial illiteracy, something the authors call the biggest economic crisis in the world, affecting so many people.
It's a huge problem. Studies show that most people globally just don't get basic financial concepts. It leaves them open to manipulation.
And bad financial outcomes, right?
Exactly.
And that's where the book's sucker cycle concept comes in, showing how not understanding money can trap you in a cycle. You work hard, but the money just disappears.
Exactly. They use a great analogy. Like a leaky bucket. You keep pouring your earnings in, but it just drains out because of a lack of financial smarts.
Makes sense. So it's like working hard, but not getting ahead.
Right.
And they give this example about banks, using our savings to make huge profits.
How so?
Well, they take our deposits,
Right.
give us tiny interest rates. Then they lend that same money out at way higher rates.
So they're profiting from our lack of knowledge.
That's the point.
Right.
That's why understanding this stuff is so important. It's about breaking free from that cycle, making our money work for us, not against us.
I see what you mean.
Now, the book talks about John D. Rockefeller, America's first billionaire. When he was just 14, he loaned a farmer the equivalent of $1,500 today.
Wow. And what happened?
Well, he made more money from the interest on that one loan than from days of digging potatoes. Hard work.
So he learned young the power of passive income.
Exactly. Which leads us to maybe the most important tool we have, compound interest. I think of it like a snowball effect. It just keeps building and building.
It's not just about earning interest on what you put in, it's earning interest on that interest too, growing exponentially.
And the book illustrates it with a chart, comparing simple interest versus compound interest, using Rockefeller's $1,500 loan as the example, over 50 years, at a 9% interest rate.
A 9% interest rate over 50 years. That must be quite a difference.
Huge. With compound interest, his money would have grown more than 16 times compared to simple interest.
Wow. Makes you realize time really is on your side when it comes to investing.
It is. That's why starting early, even with small amounts, is so important. Think small, consistent investments. They have the potential to grow like crazy over time, thanks to compounding.
So starting small is better than waiting till you have a lot.
Exactly. They give this great example, comparing two people, Sarah and TJ. Sarah starts with $50,000, but never adds anything else.
Okay.
TJ starts with only $500, but consistently adds $500 every month. Both get 9% interest a year for 45 years.
So you'd think Sarah would end up with more since she started with so much more.
Right, but she doesn't.
No.
TJ ends up with more, all because of those regular contributions plus the magic of compounding.
That's incredible. So it's not about the initial amount, it's about the consistency.
And time. That's the key takeaway here for our listeners. Even small, regular amounts can grow huge over time. That's the power of thinking long-term.
I'm starting to see that.
And that thinking brings us to another concept, the time value of money. It basically means that the money you have now is worth more than that same amount later.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because of its earning potential. Think about it. Getting $1,000 today versus a promise of $1,000 in 10 years.
Oh.
The $1,000 you get today has 10 years to grow through investments or interest, while the future $1,000 missed out on a decade of potential growth.
That makes sense.
And smart businesses use this all the time. Think limited time offer or act now deals.
They want our money now?
Right. They want us to spend immediately. But when it comes to paying us back,
They take their sweet time.
you got it.
Yeah.
And they profit from our money during that whole time.
Wow. So that's how the time value of money plays out every day.
It is. And once you understand it, you make smarter decisions about your finances, thinking long term. Now, speaking of time and finance, there's a simple tool to estimate how long it takes for investments to double. It's called the Rule of 72.
The Rule of 72. I've never heard of that.
It's pretty cool.
Tell me more. It's a really easy formula. You just divide 72 by the interest rate, and that gives you roughly the number of years it takes for your investment to double.
So like if your investment is getting a 6% return, you divide 72 by 6, which equals 12, meaning it would take about 12 years for your money to double.
Exactly. And this helps you, see how fast your money could be growing, so you don't settle for those low return investments.
I see.
It's powerful when you compare different rates. Like the average savings account rate in 2019, that was only 0.09%
Ouch.
versus the average credit card rate, over 17%.
That's a big difference.
Using the rule of 72, it would take, get this, 800 years for your money to double in that savings account at that measly rate.
800 years.
But with credit card debt,
It grows much faster.
every 4.2 years, your debt doubles at that 17%.
Wow.
Makes you think, right?
It does. It shows how important it is to be smart about where our money goes. We got to maximize returns and minimize that high interest debt.
Exactly. And this leads to the actionable steps in how money works for achieving real financial security.
The meat of the matter.
They outline 7 key milestones, like a roadmap to a stronger financial you.
Love a good roadmap.
Think of them as building blocks, addressing everything, from protecting yourself from those financial shocks.
To actually building and keeping your wealth.
Right.
Solid plan. So what's the first milestone?
It's pretty straightforward. Get a financial education, like what we're doing right now.
Meta.
Huh?
But acquiring knowledge is only part of it. The authors also suggest something else.
Oh, absolutely. Finding a financial advisor, someone who really knows their stuff, who can help you navigate the complexities of this world and personalize a plan for you.
Like a financial guide.
Exactly.
I like it. And then, milestone number 2, secure proper protection. This is all about projecting your income and assets with things like life insurance.
Yes. Life insurance acts as that safety net to protect your loved ones if something happens to you. The authors suggest having coverage 10 times your annual family income. So if your household brings in, say, $50,000 a year, you'd want $500,000 in coverage.
Makes sense.
Of course, everyone's different, depending on your age, health, debt, kids.
Right.
Talking to a financial advisor is always the best way to figure out the right amount.
So it's about thinking ahead, planning for your family's future, just in case.
Exactly.
And there are different types of life insurance, right?
There are. Term life insurance covers you for a set amount of time, while permanent life insurance lasts your whole life and often has extra benefits, like something called cash value accumulation.
Okay. We'll be sure to get into those different types later on, along with other ways to protect yourself financially.
We'll also cover long-term care insurance, which is super important as you get older, in case you need help with everyday stuff.
Looking forward to that. So, once we've got that safety net, we move on to milestone 3, creating an emergency fund.
This is like building that house of bricks, just like in the 3 Little Pigs.
Pig.
Having that cash readily available is crucial for weathering those unexpected financial storms.
Life throws a lot at you.
It does. Medical bills, car repairs, job loss.
It's like a buffer,
Yeah.
so a financial hiccup doesn't turn into a full-blown disaster. Now, how much should we aim for?
The book recommends 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. In cash. Easy to access.
Makes sense, though the amount probably varies from person to person, based on your income, risk tolerance.
Absolutely. And even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, having a little something set aside can make all the difference.
It's about peace of mind.
It is.
So, what are some practical ways to grow that emergency fund? Especially when money's tight.
Well, you have to spend less than you earn. And be smart about where your money goes.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Right. But creating a budget, tracking your expenses, cutting back on unnecessary spending.
Ah, the dreaded budget.
It doesn't have to be scary. You can find ways to free up cash for your emergency fund.
And it can be those little things, right?
Often, yes, like that daily latte. Or a subscription you never use.
Little things add up.
They do. Once you've built up your emergency fund, you can move on to the 4th milestone. Apply debt management.
Time to face the music.
It's about confronting your debt and coming up with a solid plan to pay it off.
Taking control.
Yes.
So, what does the book say about tackling debt?
Well, first, it's important to understand the scope of the problem. A lot of American adults are in debt. The average credit card debt per household is over $8,000.
$8,000.
That's the average.
Wow.
And that debt can really hold you back from investing, saving, or just pursuing your dreams.
Like a weight dragging you down.
Exactly. But the book offers a clear way out. First, you got to know exactly what you owe.
Make a list.
Yep. List everything,
Credit cards.
balances, interest rates, minimum payments.
Student loans.
It all goes on there, so you know where you stand.
Okay.
Then you can start to tackle it strategically.
How?
Focus on one debt at a time, either the smallest one first or the one with the highest interest rate.
Right. Get those high-interest ones under control.
Exactly. The snowball method is popular. You pay off the smallest debt, then roll that payment amount into the next smallest so it keeps building.
It's all about momentum.
Right. Seeing those debts disappear can keep you motivated. And of course, the best way to avoid more debt.
Don't use those credit cards.
Right. Especially those buy now, pay later schemes. They can be tempting, but dangerous.
Discipline is key. So let's move on to the next milestone. Number 5, increase cash flow.
This is where it gets exciting.
How so?
It's about creating a system where more money is coming in than going out, giving you more freedom to reach your financial goals, whether it's paying down debt faster, investing more aggressively, or just having more financial peace of mind.
Sounds good to me. How do we do it?
Well, How Money Works gives a bunch of strategies.
Hit me with them.
Budgeting, side gigs,
This is extra income.
starting a business,
Ooh, I like that.
even adjusting your tax withholdings so you get more in your paycheck throughout the year.
So it's about being proactive,
Yeah.
looking for ways to earn more.
Exactly.
Now let's move on to milestone number 6. Build your wealth. This is about more than just managing money. It's about growing it.
Exactly. And the authors highlight a pretty interesting fact. Most people are more scared of running out of money in retirement than they are of dying.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
It is. It just shows you how important it is to save for retirement. We're living longer than ever,
Sure.
and they stress starting early, even with small amounts.
Yeah.
The earlier you start, the more time those investments have to compound and grow.
Right. Time is our friend.
They also talk about the danger of inflation.
The silent wealth killer.
Exactly. It eats away at the value of your money over time. You got to make sure your investments are earning more than the inflation rate.
So our money keeps up with the rising cost of living.
Exactly. And they use the rule of 72 to illustrate this.
Oh, how so?
The average inflation rate over the past century is about 2.8%. If you divide 72 by 2.8, you get about 25.7 years. Meaning,
Prices double every 26 years or so.
yeah,
So something that costs $100 today
could cost $200 in 26 years.
makes you think.
So you have to be smart about your investments. Make sure they're outpacing inflation.
Preserving the value of our hard-earned money. And the authors also talk about minimizing losses. We all know the market goes up and down.
They mention the period from 2000 to 2010, the so-called loss decade. The stock market lost half its value. Twice.
Ouch. Not good for investors who are relying on the stock market.
Exactly. And that's why diversification is so important. Spreading your investments across different areas.
So if one investment tanks,
The others can cushion the blow.
makes sense. And they also discuss how taxes affect our investments.
Right. Different accounts have different tax rules. Some are taxed every year. Others let your investments grow tax deferred.
Meaning you don't pay taxes until later,
Right. And then there are tax-advantaged accounts.
like Roth IRAs.
Exactly, where you can withdraw money tax-free in retirement.
Pretty sweet deal.
It is.
But navigating those tax rules can be tricky.
It can.
Another reason to talk to a financial advisor.
Absolutely. Now, let's move on to the final milestone. Milestone number 7, protect your wealth. This is all about estate planning, making sure your assets go where you want them to, and that your loved ones are taken care of when you're gone.
Leaving a legacy.
Exactly. And the first step,
Having a will.
great, a legal document that spells out how you want your assets divided.
Important stuff.
They also talk about a durable power of attorney for finances.
What's that?
It's where you name someone you trust to manage your finances if you can't.
Like if you become incapacitated.
Right.
Makes sense.
And they also discuss trusts, which are legal entities that can hold and manage assets for your beneficiaries.
Okay.
Trusts can help you avoid probate court and give you more control over how your inheritance is managed.
So estate planning, it's not just about the money.
No, it's about taking care of the people you love.
So we've covered those 7 milestones.
Yeah.
But there's this other interesting idea in the book about building wealth for your kids. Starting early.
It's a different way of thinking about things. Instead of childhood being all about spending money,
Right.
we can use those early years to build a strong financial foundation for their future.
I like that. So how do we do it?
It all comes back to time and compounding. The earlier we start investing for them.
The more time their money has to grow.
Exactly. The book calls this the $1 million baby concept.
Okay, that sounds promising.
Imagine this. You set aside $13,000 when your child is born
13,000.
in an account that earns, let's say, an average of 6.5% interest per year.
Right.
By the time they retire, that initial investment could be worth over $1 million.
$1 million just from that initial 13,000.
That's the power of compound growth over a long period. And it shows you the potential of those first 20 years of a child's life.
When their financial needs are still pretty low.
Exactly.
But $13,000 at birth, that's a lot for some families. What if you can't swing that?
The book offers another approach, a more gradual one. Instead of a lump sum, you could start with a smaller amount, maybe $2,500, and then,
Add to it regularly.
right, like $250 every month for the first 4 years.
So more manageable for most people.
And even those smaller, consistent contributions can really add up over time.
It's all about starting early, building those good habits.
And setting our kids up for financial success.
Now, how do we make sure those funds are protected so they're not touched until the child retires?
Trusts. They're key for this.
Trusts.
You can set up a trust to hold and manage the money. It'll grow without interference.
No temptation to dip into it early.
Exactly. And it'll be there when the child needs it most.
For retirement.
Right.
So it's like turning those early years, which can be expensive.
Into a time for building wealth.
Amazing. The $1 million baby concept is really something. I think it could change the way we think about financial planning for our kids.
I agree.
So for those of us who maybe got a later start on this financial journey, the book still offers tons of great advice. Like those 7 money milestones we talked about.
They give you a solid framework, no matter where you're starting from.
And those milestones cover everything, right?
They do. From education and protection.
To building an emergency fund, tackling debt, and increasing your income.
Right. And of course, building wealth and then protecting it.
It's a roadmap to financial security.
Exactly. And the authors really stress the importance of talking to a financial advisor to get personalized guidance.
Need someone to help you put it all together.
Right. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into how money works, let's recap those 7 milestones one last time.
Sounds good.
Milestone 1, get a financial education. This is about, arming yourself with knowledge.
So you can make smart choices about your money.
Exactly. Milestone 2, secure proper protection. Make sure you have the right insurance to protect you and your family.
From those unexpected life events.
Right. Milestone 3, create an emergency fund. Have that cash cushion for those financial emergencies.
Like a safety net.
Exactly. Milestone 4, apply debt management. Get those debts under control. Pay them off systematically.
Work towards being debt-free.
Yes. Milestone 5, increase cash flow. Find ways to spend more money.
And manage your spending.
Right. So you can reach your financial goals faster.
Love it.
Milestone 6, build your wealth.
Invest early and often.
Harness that compound growth.
To build a solid financial future.
Exactly. And finally, milestone 7, protect your wealth. Make sure your assets are taken care of.
And that your loved ones are protected.
Right. With things like estate planning.
These 7 milestones are a powerful framework. It's not just about getting rich. It's about managing your money well and building a secure future.
I agree. How money works gives us the tools to break free from those financial tracks and take control of our money.
It reminds us that we have the power to shape our financial destinies.
To make smart choices and build a legacy of financial security.
Now, as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a question.
Oh, I like this.
If you could go back in time, what's the one piece of financial advice you'd give your younger self?
Based on what we've learned today.
Let that question sit with you. Maybe it'll inspire you to take charge of your financial journey.
I hope so.
A huge thank you to our expert for sharing their insights, and to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into how money works.
We hope you've gained some valuable knowledge to help you take control of your financial future.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into the world of finance.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, best of luck on your financial journeys.
Goodbye.